guys, welcome back to another video. Lots to talk about today, from some more information about some major Xbox games coming out to some other big things happening around the industry. Before we do jump into it, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like daily gaming news content, and check out my Spotify. Link is in the description if you want the audio version of the show. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, we know, is going to be a massive game released this year from Xbox. From everything we have seen so far, it's looking like it is shaping up to be really good. Machine Games has made great games in the past with like the Wolfenstein series, so you really don't expect anything less than a very good first person adventure. Obviously there is also some third person stuff thrown in there for Indiana Jones. But one of the coolest things we have heard about recently is that they use some unseen Indiana Jones footage to create this game. This here says Indiana Jones is one of those franchises that can't be recreated lightly. To that end, the folks at Machine Games have been poring over as much source material as possible, including having lengthy discussions with the writers responsible for creating the original Indiana Jones movie all those years ago. The squad also got access to exclusive unseen footage that never made it to air. And here is what Machine Games says. They say, we managed to get access to some of the Lucasfilm archives as well, which for indie fans has been an absolute dream come true, to get access to some of these things that perhaps not so many people have seen. So they're taking a look at that, and they're actually going to be able to incorporate that into the upcoming Indiana Jones and the Great Circle game. I mean, or at least take the ideas from that unseen footage and use it for the creation of this game. So, I mean, this is going to be a very, very faithful creation, I believe, for the Indiana Jones series, for the franchise, and for the IP, and obviously hoping that the gameplay and everything is going to be very fun as well. And it is looking like that from what we've seen, especially from the combat perspective, and just how cool some of those first person moments and those hand-to-hand combat moments have been in the gameplay footage. I can't wait for this one. Now, we obviously don't know the exact release date yet for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but it is coming out this year before the end of the year to kind of top off or continue with some more great first-party Xbox releases that we should be getting. And when it comes to another game that I'm surprised we haven't seen this year, we didn't see at the Xbox showcase, and that is inXile's Clockwork Revolution. I mean, when they first showed it off last year, it looked like it was very far along in development. Like, it looked like this is a game that is gearing up to be coming to us and to be released. At least that's the way I saw it. But we didn't see it at the Xbox Game Showcase, and we know Xbox has already said that they have a lot of games in development. We've heard from Paris Lilly, who was at the Summer Games Fest and basically was told that there's lots of games that still haven't been shown. So Gamescom could be one of those events where we get to see a game like this or other Xbox games in development. But there has been rumors and speculation around the actual release date for Clockwork Revolution. If you remember, I think it was last week, one of the voice actors put in their IMDb that the game could be released in 2025. And as we know, with inXile, they have great senses of humor. Their ads, they put out videos for games that come out. Like, they're just great with their whole marketing side of things at this studio. And they are at it again here with a meme for this release date. You can see this. It says, me trying to figure out when our game is going to be released. And then the bottom picture, a voice actor making up a release date for their IMDb. So they just put 2025, and we don't know. I mean, I think it's probably going to come out in 2025, but we don't know the actual release date for it. Maybe we get a crazy shock surprise and it comes out earlier than that. Or maybe it's not as far along in development as it seems, and it doesn't come out until 2026. But this is absolutely a game I am looking forward to playing, just from the first trailer that we did see. And I have fingers crossed here that we do see more of this game before this year is up. All right, jumping over, let's talk about Starfield and Bethesda, and lots of information that we got out of an interview from Mr. Matty Plays, interviewing Todd Howard about the future of Starfield, as well as kind of what's going on with Bethesda Game Studio. So as we know, Shattered Space is coming. That's the expansion to Starfield. I'm pretty excited for that, to see what they come up with. The trailer looked really, really good. But what I think a lot of people are wondering is how big is this expansion going to be? Are you going to be traversing in the entire galaxies and a lot of ship flying going from one place to the next? And it looks like we have that answer, and the answer to that is no. We have this here. It says the bulk of Starfield Shattered Space has a more focused approach, taking place on one planet and city, allowing Bethesda Game Studios to deliver a more traditional experience. Todd Hours compares the scope to Fallout 4 Far Harbor expansion, and honestly, for an expansion, I am absolutely okay with that. That's kind of what I was hoping for, kind of what I wanted, where we're going to get a nice chunk of DLC, but it is going to be focusing on a single real big story that you're exploring in depth into these places that have more details, not jumping from planet to planet or galaxy to galaxy and stuff like that. So very cool to hear that. I'm excited to check out Shattered Space when it does come out. There are some other things he also talked about. Starfield is getting a year 2. They're actually planning yearly story expansions for Starfield. I'm sure people will love that. They remastering old Fallouts or Elder Scrolls games currently is not a priority, which that is not a surprise, because you have to think about right now they're working on Starfield now. I mean, they're bringing out DLC and like I said, getting a year 2. They are obviously trying to get more Fallout content and games out there, Fallout 5 and maybe some other things, some smaller games, some new content, because of how big the show blew that IP up or got the excitement back into Fallout. So they really want to capitalize on that. And then obviously Elder Scrolls 6. So do they even have time to do these remasters of these older games? Probably not. So I'm not surprised about that at all. One of the questions people always ask about Starfield, or they always kind of try to downplay the overall excitement or player base for this game, saying that people really just don't play it anymore. And Todd Howard kind of commented on this, and we know now that Starfield has been a great success. No matter how much people try to downplay it, people have been playing it. People play for long periods of time, and they have a strong player count and a strong amount of people that have played the game. Todd Howard confirmed that Starfield has more than 14 million players with an average play time of 40 hours per player. And he says, we have our hands full taking care of all of these players and franchises. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's a lot of time per player, 40 hours on average. And you know, a lot of people play like hundreds of hours. Some people maybe only play like 30 hours. I think you can run through that campaign in about 35 to 40 hours around there. But that is a strong playtime. That is a large amount of players. So obviously they want to continue to support the game. And that's why we're getting all this content for it. Now, when it comes to their structure, they have a 5-team structure. This is pretty interesting. And this is kind of the games and the content that this 5-team structure is working on. You have Starfield, big one. Elder Scrolls 6, obviously, and that's going to be huge. Fallout 76. Then they have a mobile team. And then they have a development partnership and external development management. So that's kind of how the Bethesda Game Studios 5-team structure is broken down. And if you thought that 60 FPS coming to Starfield was pretty cool on console, at least, it's getting even better. We know that mods are available on the Creation Store, and that is bringing content like turning Starfield into a Star Wars game. If you want to go do that, you can download that type of stuff. And one of the things that these mods are doing now is that it's bringing Starfield that can run at 60 and 120 FPS on the Xbox Series S, thanks to a mod available on the Creation Store. So if you have a Series S and you want to get the best or more smooth frame rate, better frames, go check out that mod. It's to me, it's always quite interesting how this happens, how the games come out, they're 30 frames per second, and the developers are giving all of these reasonings as to why they have to have it at 30 frames per second. They haven't been able to optimize it, I guess, or they want a certain experience without stuttering. And I can get that. You don't really want people jumping into a game right at the start and then having these crazy frame rate drops at 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second dropping down to like 30 or 40 or whatever, and you're seeing a bunch of stuttering, especially when enemies come on screen. But then you have people out there that create mods that can get these games running at 60 or 120 FPS. So why couldn't the developers get it running at that point? Or why couldn't they have waited before those FPS modes were available? Like I've said before on this, I played the game at 30 FPS on the console. I had a great experience with it. It didn't really affect my enjoyment of the game at all. And I don't really believe that delaying that game to the 60 frames per second update that we recently got would have made a huge difference, because the game did very well sales, the game did very well in players numbers, and they probably kind of weigh all of that and thought that we'll get this game out there when it's ready rather than delay it once again. But now you're having all these options, 60 FPS, 120 FPS, even on the Xbox Series S. So lots of cool Bethesda stuff there, and some other information here. Todd Howard and Bethesda Game Studios on their IP says that our games have never been more popular. Last month, our games had 25 million players. And he says we want to serve that player base while also developing new products. And I think a lot of those players now, especially with the improvements of Fallout 76 and the excitement from the TV show, have been jumping in there. So lots of stuff here going on at Bethesda Game Studios. Very healthy, successful games, IPs, and everything right now going forward. Now that wasn't just Bethesda that we got, or wasn't just Starfield and Elder Scrolls stuff that we got information on. We also got some pretty cool information here on the new upcoming Gears of War E-Day, which for me is the game I am probably most excited for at this current moment in the entire Xbox Game Studios lineup as a big Gears fan. And the trailer was amazing, how they went back to the Mad World song and just kind of recreated that original Mad World trailer that we got for the first Gears of War. I think that the trailer was phenomenal. We have some more information here from Windows Central and an interview with the Coalition on Gears of War E-Day. It takes place 14 years before Gears of War 1. So you're really seeing Marcus Phoenix and where you're really seeing him not prepared for what was going on. And they really showed that in that trailer where you had the Locust come in and he almost died right there. We have never gotten the story if that Locust would have won in that battle, but really not prepared for what was coming here with E-Day. You have new weapons and Locust types. There's multiplayer modes, of course. There was a question about, is this game going to have multiplayer? And I mean, it's a mainline Gears game. Obviously, it's going to have multiplayer. They're returning to the Gears roots. General Ram, no comments on that. We'll see what happens with General Ram. And Chainsaws returns, and you get the story behind the actual chainsaws with the Lancer. So you saw in the trailer, he didn't have the chainsaw. He had the retro Lancer with the knife in front of it. So you're going to get the story as to, I guess, where the roots of the chainsaw and how that came to be in Gears of War universe, which is just exciting to see, because that is one of the most iconic weapons in all of video games, is the chainsaw on the Lancer. So cool stuff there. I can't wait for Gears of War E-Day, and I just hope that we get to see it now sooner rather than later, but I don't want them to rush it because I want the game to come out at the highest quality possible. And then we have this year, we have id Software. Here's Hugo Martin saying there's more info to come for Doom the Dark Ages. And he says we don't want to fire all the bullets because we want to save some things. Also mentions that this time glory kills will give you more freedom to finish off demons with no restrictions. And obviously glory kills are one of the most exciting things, one of the most loved things within these Doom games, where you really see like the gore and just the craziness of this game. Now you're going to have more freedom on how you go about that. So cool to see. And I'm sure, like we've seen, they're working on this. This game is looking good, and we're going to get more information to upcoming events, whether it's this year or next year and beyond. So there's so many games from Xbox right now to be talking about. It's just literally nonstop. Now, from a game that is not being worked on as a first-party Xbox game, it is the Wonder Woman game, and we haven't gotten too much for it, but we do have some information here that it will have the Nemesis system, which is great because the Nemesis system is one of the best things that WB put into a video game. It says a predominantly female set of villains like Circe, Medusa, and Cheetah. Fast-paced game, free-flow combat with devastating combos and powerful weapons with Lasso of Truth. And coming from WB, you want that free-flowing combat like what you get with the Arkham series. And I'm sure it'll be faster than that. It just has to feel great in your hands. And there's iconic DC characters appearance. So we haven't really seen this game. Until we see that first gameplay trailer, I think people will be skeptical as to how good this game is going to end up being, especially with the recent releases from WB with something like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Now, Capcom, a game that they have in their repertoire is Dino Crisis, and people want that game back. And it's very apparent here as Capcom fans want a new Dino Crisis game more than any other title. This was a recent survey with over 254,000 people giving their feedback on the company and the games that they have under the Capcom lineup and the Capcom brand. And it says here the Capcom Super Elections was a global undertaking with people from a staggering 220 countries voting on various questions and propositions. One key was written to ask Capcom fans worldwide what series they like to see a sequel or new game, and Dino Crisis won by almost 20,000 votes. Now, the second place was Mega Man with 63,000 votes, and Devil May Cry with 60,000 votes. So those are the top 3 games that people do want to see. All 3 of those I would love to see come back with a new iteration. Dino Crisis has just been gone since so long, so that we haven't seen it since 2003. And I think it would make sense if they came out with a new trailer for a new Dino Crisis. People will lose their minds, and it would sell very well when it does come out. Okay, let's jump over here and let's talk about a new patent, new trademark that has been filed by Take-Two. And it was a new trademark filed on June 14th in Europe and the US, and it's ball over everything. Now, you can think of that probably as a kind of NBA Street style of game. I think a series like NBA Street that was from EA, we need a game like that back, at least more games like that in general in the sports gaming world. You have a lot of the simulation, but we just haven't had games like NBA Street. You had like NFL Street, and those just fun arcade style of sports games. A new NBA Jam would be cool. But I would love to see more stuff like this, and it sounds like this is what this is going to be if they actually make this game. It says it has been discovered that Take-Two Interactive has filed a new trademark in Europe and the United States a few days ago. The trademark is for the phrase ball over everything, leading fans to speculate it could be a new FIFA 2K game, NBA 2K game, or even a Lego soccer game that recently released. You can see a tweet relaying the news down below. I hope it's like kind of like another NBA Street game, because those games are extremely fun, and I would love to see those come back. We have some sad news here for the Wizard with a Gun developer, Galvanic Games. They are actually completely closing down. It's just another piece of bad news in the gaming industry this year that really does not seem to be stopping. But posting on X, the president and founder Patrick Morgan wrote, "With a heavy heart, I announced the closure of Galvanic Games. Despite claiming the Wizard with a Gun got off to a promising start, sales of the title were not enough to sustain the studio." So another studio closing. And like I said, I think because of the rising costs of all of this type of stuff going on in the gaming industry, you're going to see more game studios close down. Even if the game seemingly did well, they have to reach such lofty targets here to be able to have success to continue going forward. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.